Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So we are back once again with some more World Cup gameplay. So once more, this is coming from the regional qualifying stage of the World Cup. So this is from the UK Africa group. And yeah, we've already got off to a pretty good start. A couple of wins in the bag. So yeah, hopefully we can keep that run going, keep the strong form, and get another win here today. So we are going first in this game. And yeah, let's get stuck straight into the starting hand. And you will see right off the bat, it is a pretty crazy looking starting hand. So yeah, really, really good options to have there. Obviously, Killdeer needs no introduction. Probably, I would say, in my opinion, the best bird in the game. But definitely one of those best four birds that we all know and we all love to see in a starting hand. So as before, because this is the World Cup, we are observing the tournament server house rules, which means, yeah, birds like the Killdeer cannot be played until the start of round 2. So obviously a little bit more tricky planning to do there to, yeah, obviously make sure that you don't play it in that first round, but that you're still doing something productive and setting yourself up well to get it down in the second round. And certainly I think with these other birds in the hand, I've got lots of options there. So definitely European bee eater, really, really good grassland food generating birds. I think one of my favourites from the European expansion, and I'm sure lots of people would agree with that as well. Yeah, just being able to reset the bird feeder, gain some extra worms, really, really good to have that option. And then the Scissortail Flycatcher, again, quite similar power, gaining worms, although obviously this time you're getting from the supply, but you are giving to all players, so something to kind of bear in mind there at least with that kind of power. And then finally, the Purple Martin. Again, these tuck and draw birds probably don't need any sort of justification to keep in a starting hand, but yeah, just having that alongside the Killdeer, you know, you generate cards to tuck, and then you obviously can tuck those cards for points, and then you're cycling through the deck that little bit quicker as well. So really for me, the difficulty in this starting hand is knowing which of these amazing birds to keep, because, you know, there's four that I've talked about. I think ideally those are the four I would keep, but the problem is that you then only can have one food to keep. And yeah, I did give a little flash of the bird feeder earlier, but there are no worms, and so it's quite a tricky situation, that, because I think the natural choice here for me would be, you know, look at keeping maybe all four birds, grab a worm, play the bee eater, and then you're kind of away, you're generating some eggs and food, and you can, you know, start to get the other ones down. But yeah, no worms and no real prospect of resetting that bird feeder. So definitely, you know, that's kind of what is making me think here. You'll see, okay, maybe only go for 3 birds and then just focus on getting the bee eater and the Purple Martin down. But as I was planning this out, and this is what I always do for a starting hand for this first round, try and think what I'm going to do with those 8 turns. And it's something I'd encourage all players to do as well. You know, I was thinking to myself, okay, if I get the food, I play the bee eater, start laying eggs, get the martin down. I kind of ran out of things to do in that first round. And obviously, if there were no house rules, you'd be getting that Killdeer down straight away, and no problems really sort of planning what you want to do. But I couldn't find a way to use all the turns in that first round in a productive manner that would set me up nicely to play the Killdeer. And that's always a difficulty for me, because I like to be doing stuff in that first round. I think, you know, 8 turns, so crucial to be using all of those in a way that is going to help you. And yeah, that is why you'll see I'm kind of leaning back towards the Flycatcher. And obviously it's slower. Again, keeping less food at the start is going to slow you down, not being able to maybe get the birds down as quickly as you ordinarily would like. But I could really see a quite natural progression for this. You know, get the food, play the bee eater, try and get a bit more food, play the Flycatcher, and then as soon as you've got that 2 food, it's very easy to get the other birds down. So that's what I've gone for here. I'm still trying to decide in my own head if it was the right move. I did post this starting hand on the server, on the tournament server, in the strategy channel. So that's where we post starting hands, and yeah, we get lots of comments and people sort of critiquing choices and giving their own views on what they would have done. So this might look like a familiar starting hand to you. And yeah, definitely, you know, I got some good suggestions on there that I like the look of, some that I did think of, some that I didn't. But yeah, this kind of, I think, is a good example of how a really good starting hand can still be a really difficult starting hand to work with. because, you know, there's those two clear trains of thought of going greedy or going conservative. And I think I definitely went a bit more greedy here. And like I say, I still can't decide for myself if that was the right call. But you will kind of see just as this game plays out, maybe where the struggles of this starting hand will start to creep in. But obviously, ultimately, the goal is to get all 4 of these birds down in the grasslands, and you can just picture that already. Having those 4 down, getting 2 food, drawing cards, cycling cards, getting a bunch of eggs and tuck cards as well. Kind of feels very, very natural, and obviously, yeah, you're going to score plenty of points that way. So it's all just about getting it set up in a timely manner, so that, you know, you're not wasting turns at the start, and that you are really able to make the most of that engine. But yeah, here we go, on to our first turn. Our opponent hasn't made their choices, so yeah, like I said, kind of need to go for some food, and I think definitely with only a single cherry there, and the plan of getting the flycatcher down at some point, hopefully this round, I want to be making sure I get that cherry, and that's just going to help me get that down. So obviously, as I said before, no worms in the feeder is a bit of a frustration, but you know, you do always have that option of overpaying. So you know, you pay any 2 foods for whatever other food you would like. So it might just be a case of that, and just kind of slowly gathering the food that I need, and kind of going from there. So yeah, you will see again on this turn, we are going to go for food once more. So yeah, it doesn't really matter what food I pick. I think just as long as I pick 2 of the same. So definitely at this point my plan is, okay, I'm going to go for food next turn as well. Obviously in this situation I could force down the Bee Eater using the cherry and the seed for that second worm, but as I said, when I was grabbing the cherry, that's for the flycatcher, so I want to try and keep that, and yeah, obviously use other food to get the Bee Eater down. So we go again, another turn gaining food. So yeah, when you talk about trying to get off to a fast start, gaining a single food from the bird feeder 3 times in a row is definitely not what you have in mind when it comes to that kind of thing. So obviously, you know, now again I've got the food here where maybe I could force down either the flycatcher or the Bee Eater, and then obviously use that power itself to get some more worms, and that definitely is an option. But you'll see once again we are going to go for food. So yeah, I've definitely never started a game like this before in my entire life playing Wingspan. Taking 4 single gaining food actions at the start of the game. So definitely, yeah, a new one on me. But as I said, it was all about just trying to get the right food. And obviously now I've got kind of the 2 worms. So again, I can choose either the flycatcher or the Bee Eater. And then, you know, hopefully after 1 activation, I can get the other one down. And then once I've got the 2 food generation, I'm kind of away. So yeah, it's definitely an unusual start, but yeah, I'm all for those if they can work out in the long run. So here we go, comes back around to my turn, and finally we are going to play a bird. And you see, initially I was going to go for flycatcher, but kind of looking at my opponent's setup, they have no food generating birds whatsoever. And this is a big kind of nervousness of mine, is giving away too much free food through something like a flycatcher when it's really going to benefit your opponent. And so you see, that's why in this case I've gone with the Bee Eater first instead. Obviously, you know, the flycatcher is that guarantee of food, but the Bee Eater, you have a pretty good chance of getting the worm. And obviously, it's only giving worms to you and not to your opponent. So that was the line of thinking, to try and sort of minimize the amount of food leakage early in the game. I think especially in this situation, you know, with no forest down, that 1 food is worth a turn to my opponent. You know, if they needed that worm to play a bird, that would have cost them 1 turn to gain that from their forest. So yeah, obviously it's entirely situational. Depends kind of what birds they've got in their hand, maybe what they're going to try and play. But wherever possible, yeah, I'm going to try and minimize giving away too much free food in that sort of situation. So we did play the Bee Eater, and yeah, we're going to lay eggs here, and hopefully activate the Bee Eater. We do not get a worm, and so that was a real kick in the teeth. You know, this is one of the gripes I have with the Bee Eater, is that, you know, if you miss that first activation, or sort of any activation early in the game, it can set you back so much. You know, it's just saying how 1 food can be worth a turn. This food for me was definitely costing a bit of tempo. Obviously, not getting the worm I needed meant I can't play the flycatcher here, and I am definitely going to have to rethink. Do I gamble and legs again? Do I, try and force the martin down? So many options at this point. And yeah, really kind of a struggle and a real frustration when you don't get that food you want. But that's the gamble I took. I could have played it safe. Probably should have played it safe and played the flycatcher instead. And yeah, obviously you get the guarantee of the worm in that case. But I took the risk, and maybe it was an unnecessary risk. But let me know in the comments. I want to know how you would have played that. And yeah, would you have taken the safe play? Guarantee yourself a worm, knowing that you're giving something away to your opponent, or are you going to gamble and feel pretty safe in getting the worm, obviously risking that you won't? But there we go. My opponent does play a forest bird finally in the very swift, so we're going to legs, and we do get the worm. Very, very fortunately in this situation. So yeah, I was quite happy to finally get that. And yeah, now, like I say, for me, it's just about again kind of working out the turn sequence. So I think my original plan, like I say, was I was going to play the flycatcher and then lay eggs, and then that would have given me enough eggs and enough food to play the martin and the killdeer in that next round. But if I play the flycatcher on this final turn, I can't play the killdeer straight away, and it's such a strong bird, I have to get it down as soon as possible. So now my thinking is kind of maybe play the martin this turn, and then I've still got food and eggs to play the killdeer next turn, and I can just be a bit patient with the flycatcher. I'm still going to slowly gather some extra worms through the bee eater, hopefully, if the power is going to work my way. And yeah, obviously, I can, while getting those worms, gather a few cards with the killdeer, get some tucks through the martin, and obviously just sort of naturally get some eggs as well through that grasslands activation. So it's still going to be productive. I'm still going to be generating some resources and some points, and obviously get the food for the flycatch at the same time. And then really, like I say, once that's down, that's kind of the grasslands setup. Obviously any sort of extra tucking bird or any sort of point generating bird on top of that in that 5th spot would be very, very nice. But yeah, as a 4-bird grasslands, you can't really complain too much. So yeah, here we go to the last turn of the round, and as mentioned, we are going to play the purple martin. So yeah, sets us up nicely going into the next round. But definitely an unusual start. Like I say, going for the food 4 times. Only having 2 birds down, low point value. Don't have loads of eggs down. It's not like I've got loads of tuck cards. But really it is all about the 2 birds I've got in my hand. Obviously the food I've got ready to go as well. So yeah, really can hopefully kind of kick on and accelerate and get everything down as we go into the next round. So a fresh new tray, of course, with the new round. And yeah, nothing really there that catches my eye too much. I think maybe the coal tip might be something worth going for. If I do, maybe look to occasionally go to the forest. But again, if I'm generating 2 foods, even if they are both worms, that is probably going to keep me going for a little bit as well. And yeah, obviously the yellowhammer as well is quite an interesting power, but certainly when you're running killdeer, it's quite a tricky one to work with. So definitely whenever I'm going second in the second round, I'm always kind of praying for a slightly weaker tray. You never want to see those real strong birds come up for your opponent. So yeah, can't complain to see a tray like that. But yeah, it's going to come onto our first turn, and as mentioned, no messing about. We're going to get killdeer down, and yeah, that's a nice feeling to be able to finally in this second round get it down. And as I said, we're kind of away. We can just start laying eggs. We can hopefully get some worms from this bee eater. And yeah, once we've done that a few times, we can get the flycatcher down. And so we'll just jump forward a couple of turns here. You will see we have laid eggs twice. We've gathered a few birds in our hand, and obviously got the 2 worms from the bee eater. So very, very happy indeed. It didn't mess me up again throughout that round so far. But yeah, definitely some interesting birds in the hand. You'll see the golden I'm kind of looking at maybe for this end of round. Obviously the screech owl as well for this end of round. And also the honey buzzard, which another food generating bird, another worm generating bird. So maybe not the most ideal of plays in this situation. But yeah, you see, despite having the food for the flycatcher, I do indeed go with the screech owl here. So as I said, I think this is mainly just for this kind of end of round, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, right, I want to make sure I get some kind of cavity nest down. I mean, the Screech Owl is a pretty good play, I think, when you are running sort of low food setups like this. 4 points for a single food is not bad at all, and obviously it comes with a bit of egg space on its own, so, you know, laying lots of eggs throughout this game, being able to have that extra egg space to actually lay the eggs into, it's a nice kind of value that you get from that kind of bird as well. But yeah, definitely kind of thinking to myself, you know, how can I try and negotiate this end of round? You know, is it going to be worth playing the Barrow's Goldeneye, or would I rather, you know, focus on getting the flycatcher down earlier, as I said, or even, yeah, try and get the honey buzzer down and increase the food generation a bit as well. But yeah, my opponent, they have 2 cavity nests down, so obviously that's something for me to bear in mind when trying to work out if it's worth going for the end of round or not. And so it comes back around to our turn once again. My opponent, you'll see, there we go, there are their 2 cavity nests, and so they got a pretty good forest, so obviously they're going to start gaining some food, getting some points as well. We're going to keep laying eggs, obviously, best action for sure for us, and definitely a good turn there. So Eastern Imperial Eagle, again, kind of like the starting hand birds, needs no introduction, kind of one of the perfect birds you're looking for. When you are running Killdeer, you're always going to have extra cards to be able to play that and just score a lot of points. So yeah, definitely welcome addition to the hand. You see Bee Eater's going to keep working as well. But yeah, the other bird we drew there, the Nuthatch from the European expansion. Again, another cavity nest, so you know, definitely one I'm thinking about playing. And again, you know, when you're going second in this second round, you can kind of plan around what your opponent's doing, and you can kind of see, okay, you know, with I've got 2 turns left here. They've only got 1, so you know, they've obviously played their magpie here. I know if they're going to lay eggs, they're going to be able to get eggs on all 3 of their cavity nests. So at the moment they're winning and I'm losing. So if I can, you know, perhaps look at playing this Nuthatch, that is indeed going to help me tie the end of round. That's going to help get some more points. And again, you know, it comes with some egg space, so it, you know, could potentially help there. And you know, if I do have to go for food, maybe once or twice this game, you know, if I need something other than worms at some point, then you know, I am still gonna get some potential for getting some points as well when I do that. So yeah, we do get the Nuthatch down, and obviously, like I said, with 1 turn left, I can still lay eggs on that. And at the same time, I'm going to get that final worm for the Bee Eater, so hopefully we can finally get this flycatcher down. You know, obviously, you can always come up with a plan, and like I said, it's what I like to do at the start of the game, is kind of plan out at least that first round, but also think about how I'm setting myself up for the second round. What food am I going to be left with? What cards am I going to be left with? You know, how many turns doing a certain action do I need to be doing until I get the right resources to do what I want? Definitely, you know, plan A was to kind of get this flycatcher down, but I think it was worth taking a little bit of a detour here, you know, getting these kind of other birds down in the forest to help the end of round. I think that kind of made sense to go for that, and then yeah, like I say, obviously I can lay eggs here, as we're going to do, and yeah, hopefully get that word from the Bee Eater. We do indeed. So there we go. We set ourselves up nicely, going into this end of round, and yeah, going into round 3. So yeah, another fresh tray, of course. Not such an exciting tray, but you know, I think when you've already got some real good birds in your hand, it doesn't really matter too much. And actually, as I said, you know, the plan was always to try and get this flycatcher down. So nice to not have to take another detour there and try and grab some birds from the tray. But yeah, I think my grasslands is now pretty much set up, and really it's just about, yeah, using that. Obviously, you know, maybe cycling through the deck a bit more. But as I said, you know, I've already got this Imperial Eagle. We grabbed that Bell's Viria as well on the previous turn, which, you know, when all your food is worms and you get a nice bird like that, which is not only going to eat worms, it's going to give you a bonus card, it's going to help for your existing bonus card, and it's going to help for the last 2 end of round goals. So, you know, it's kind of got everything going for it. So definitely want to get that down. But yeah, of course, we're going to keep drawing, we're going to keep tucking. We get another pull there in the Warbler, but we do unfortunately miss with the Bee Eater. So obviously it's not going to work every time. You know, I kind of feel like I lull myself into this false sense of security, as you will have seen at the start of this game, where you kind of expect it to work every time, but obviously that is not guaranteed. So a little bit frustrating, but yeah, you know, obviously still got the flycatcher, and I've still got plenty more turns to be using the Bee Eater. So yeah, definitely you kind of see what I'm thinking. From this hand is definitely want to be trying to get that Bell's Viria down. That's going to help with this end of round goal. And yeah, then from there it's just about, obviously, do I look to play something like the Warbler? When does this eagle go down? That's kind of a key one for me. I think I'm always going to have 3 birds in my hand that I maybe don't want to play. But yeah, it's always kind of a tricky decision. I want to play at some point in that last round, obviously, to try and lay eggs on it. But yeah, when you're in no rush to play it, you always want to kind of give yourself that extra time, I think, to kind of lay eggs and obviously use the killdeer and see what cards you can get, and sort of go from there. But yeah, back around to Arto once again. So we are, of course, going to keep laying some eggs. So yeah, we get the common chaffinch. So another very interesting pull. Definitely, when you've got all of these extra birds in your hand like this, obviously some of them, like I said, will be used for the Imperial Eagle, but otherwise they're just wasted cards. They're not really actually doing anything for you. So definitely having something like the chaffinch is a good pull. But it does bring the issue of that final grassland slot. So it's already competing with the Imperial Eagle for that final space. And yeah, knowing kind of what you want to do and how to maximize the points there is quite tricky. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, obviously it works for the bonus card again. It works for this end of round goal. So I've got 3 worms. So if I want to play chaffinch and Pelsvirio, that is always an option. And then I've still got that final turn laying eggs to try and compete for this end of round. So what I'm kind of thinking is I could potentially play the chaffinch in the forest. So obviously that way I do save myself the grassland spot for the Imperial Eagle. And as I said, I think I probably am going to have to spend 1 turn going for food if I am going to give myself some egg space to lay eggs, but obviously just score points as well from playing big point birds. So I think the Prothonotary Warbler that I've got, that's a really good one to target. Lots of food and lots of points. Got the American Bittern as well. So obviously that's 7 points for 3 food. That's a pretty good return. But getting the food for that is going to be tricky from this grassland. So yeah, if I do have to have just that 1 turn going for food, I can obviously tuck a load of cards and yeah, go from there. So here we go. We play the Belzerio. We get the Ethologist, which is a pretty good bonus card. I think probably I would say my favourite bonus card from the European expansion. Basically, it's guaranteed 2 points. It's almost guaranteed 4 points. And you always give yourself a real good chance of getting 6. And you take that from a bonus card. If you can pick that up, as I have done here, sort of in this like mid to late game, that's exactly the kind of bonus card you want to see. So yeah, very, very nice indeed. And it does give options. It gives me some more options here. So obviously, with the pink power I've got in my hand, the Eurasian Golden Oriole hiding away there somewhere. Again, that's another star nest. It's another one that helps the bird bander, but it is going to help the Ethologist now as well. So that is definitely one for me to consider. So yeah, my opponent, you'll see they're really building up these bowl nests. So they played the bunting and now the mockingbird. So that's got them their 3rd bowl nest. So obviously I'm going to retaliate straight away and get this common chaffinch down. So as I said, going in the forest just to set myself up, maybe for 1 turn going for food in that final round. It's still going to be a productive turn. I'm going to get 4 tuck cards. I'm going to get cash on the nuthatch, and then I've got a shot at another point with the screech owl. And obviously all the while I'm getting a bunch of food that's going to help me play some big point birds as well. So yeah, I think that's definitely a good option to have. Obviously, if it helps me tie this 3rd end of round goal as well, that's going to give me some extra point value alongside. So here we go on to the last turn of the round. As I said, we've got these bowl nests down so we can start laying some eggs. And yeah, obviously keep getting food from the flycatcher, keep drawing some cards. Not the best cards, but maybe that black-chinned hummingbird might come into play for bird bander. So we are going to keep hold of that. And yeah, Bee Eater, it's doing its thing. Just keep going. Keep getting me those worms. I'm going to need as many as I can get, obviously, to try and get some of these birds down. Because egg space, is going to be a problem. I think, clearly I'm not going to be able to lay eggs for the rest of the game. That's kind of why the chaffinch is up there in the forest, just to give me that turn, getting food. And yeah, I'm just trying to plan my turns, trying to think which birds do I want to play, how many turns am I going to have laying eggs versus playing birds versus getting food. It's always kind of the key critical decisions to make when you're going into this last round. So there you go. You see, in the end, I lose the end of round, and I was really confused until I flicked over to my opponent's board and saw that they sniped it with the Whitethroat on the final turn, and yeah, I was almost speechless at this point, and I kind of still am. I just didn't see it coming at all as a play, and it really caught me off guard. And yeah, just I was really impressed, I have to say, to do that. You know, just to get that Whitethroat down. Obviously, 0-point bird, but it's got them 4 points now. It's going to get them a bunch in this last round as well. And it sniped the end of round goal. So yeah, I was kind of gutted because my kind of final 3 or 4 turns there, I felt were so perfectly set up for me to come back in and tie this end of round goal. And they just slapped down a Whitethroat and win it. So yeah, all you could do in that situation, which is what I did, was just kind of sit back and admire and applaud your opponent. So yeah, really, I like to see plays like that to kind of make use of the birds like that in a way that is going to help you in multiple situations. So yeah, here we go on to the start of our last round. And you see, this is where I'm kind of thinking. I'm trying to work out, okay, what's the best play? Is it worth trying to go for this pink power for the Ethologist? Obviously, that's going to take up my final forest spot. Obviously, the eagle kind of has to go down. I don't think there's really any question about that. But then it's just about working out what to do with the other turns. So, yeah, as I said, eagle, no question, that's going to go down. So that kind of buys me a bit of time in a sense, where I'm not really having to make a difficult decision now. I can kind of put that off. But yeah, when I've only got 4 turns left, I do have to think carefully about how I'm going to spend them. So, like I said, I don't really think just laying eggs 4 times is an option. The egg space, it's going to be pretty tight. I'd have to keep using the kill deer, and I probably don't really want to do that. So that's not going to be a good choice. Obviously, as I said, playing the Chaffinch earlier, that gives me a real nice option for the forest. So definitely can score a bunch of points that way. And all the while get some food. There's a fish there if I want to look to play the American Bittern, and hopefully go for a reroll, get some seeds. Maybe look to play the Warbler as well, or if I need to play this Golden Oriole, I'm going to be looking for cherries. So these are the kind of questions I'm thinking. This is what I'm wondering on my mind. Part of it might be determined by the reroll. So if I do go for foods, I might not get all the food I want to do the perfect play, and so in that situation, you have to make sure you got plan B, and yeah, just work with the food that you're given. So I'm just trying to work out in my head the different permutations, the different options, what's worth playing, what isn't worth playing. How can I, simultaneously maximize the bonus cards I've got and also my chances in the end of round goal. So yeah, these are always the kind of questions that are kind of going through my mind, and just trying to sort of work out what the best play is going to be. But yeah, it does come here to our turn, and you'll see we are going to go for food. We're going to go for a reroll, and we get a seed and a cherry. So I think, as I said, in my mind, that did kind of have it made up that it was going to be Golden Oriole time if the cherry comes up. But yeah, you see, I'm still kind of umming and ahhing, kind of going back and forth. I'm kind of looking at the Golden Eye. I'm kind of looking at the Condor for another bonus card, maybe. I'm kind of even looking at getting rid of the Warbler. So yeah, definitely, like I said, I'm thinking about the end of round goal. I'm thinking about the bonus cards. There's a lot going through my head, and I think trying to sort of get your thoughts out and get everything clear in your mind as to what the best play is going to be is difficult. So yeah, you see, to the point where I even have to back out of the game and just reset everything, because I think, I was trying to think to myself, could I have taken different food and kind of done that better? So obviously, going out of the game, I can kind of go back at least to after having done the reroll, and kind of give myself some clarity of thought again to work out the play. So yeah, it's all about, is it worth hitting the Bird Bander and the Ethologist? I think probably yes. Is it worth getting another platform nest down for the end of round? Probably yes, but if my opponent is going to snipe again like last round, then maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's worth just trying to go for the Warbler instead. So yeah, lots and lots of decisions. I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible, obviously. I don't want to be holding up my opponent too long in this sort of position, but yeah, you do often find when you kind of come to these kind of situations late in the game, can take a little while to kind of get your thoughts together, get your ducks in order, and yeah, make sure you've worked out what you want to do, and yeah, stop kind of this indecision and get everything set in your mind straight. So I think here I have got everything worked out. You see, we do go for the cherry again, so we are going to tuck everything except the warbler and the golden oriole. So I feel like that was the play to go for. Obviously, as I said, can then get a bunch of tuck cards. I get the cash on the nuthatch, and sadly miss on the screech owl. But you know, it wasn't played to get a load of cash food, so don't mind too much on that. But yeah, I think I'm set up quite nicely here. Obviously, I can still get some extra worms, maybe through the bee eater. Obviously, if I choose to use my flycatcher as well. So I will, look to play the golden oriole first. So at least, when I am going for eggs, I can try and get some way towards helping for this end of round goal. So yeah, you'll see my opponent there. They have got magpie and the egret, but I did notice that they grabbed the purple gallinule from the tray. So I'm thinking maybe they're going to play that in the wetlands and then use their whitethroat on that. Maybe they picked up some other good birds as well that they could look to play instead. So it's all just really going to come down to what they play. But yeah, I think I have kind of got my own plan set. Like I say, play the oriole, lay eggs, and then we can get the warbler down. So here we go, on to our next turn. And you see my opponent play the Cooper's Hawk. So again, another platform nest. I'm starting to think that maybe my chances of being able to compete for this end of round goal are over. But I think the golden oriole is still worth playing. Obviously combined with the warbler, it's going to help max out bird bander, and on its own, it's going to get a couple more points from the ethologist. So I think that's a good play. Even if for the power, it's a slightly unusual one at this point. But yeah, we'll get it down. And as I said, 2 more turns. I think we're going to lay eggs and play this warbler. And here we go, onto our penultimate turn. You see my opponent's been laying eggs. I think they are setting themselves up for that gallinule play. But yeah, we're going to, obviously, as I said, lay eggs, get the worm from the flycatcher. We're just discarding here to get some extra cards to tuck for the martin. Obviously, you lose an egg, but you gain a tuck. We do get the worm from the bee eater, so I was thinking to myself at the start of this turn, I could skip the flycatcher, I could discard an extra worm, but then you're putting an awful lot of pressure on that bee eater to get the worm that you need to play the warbler. So yeah, after the risks I took earlier in the game and how it came back to backfire in my face, yeah, I'm not about to take a risk like that on the penultimate turn. So there we go. My opponent plays that gallinule, so that really does cement the end of round goal for them. But as I said, too late to change my plan. We'll play the warbler, and it's still a good turn. Hits the bonus card, as I said, and plenty of points in its own right. So yeah, it just goes over to my opponent here to use their whitethroat power, and obviously they're going to win this end of round goal. And yeah, we're going to go here into the scores. So yeah, I did feel pretty confident here. Obviously, Killdeer and the grasslands with the tucking birds and the food generators, you're always going to feel strong. And yeah, Imperial Eagle as well, helping out with some bird points. Bonus cards were pretty strong. End of round goals, my opponent is going to pull it back a bit here, but we do still hold on to a slight lead. Eggs, it's going to be pretty close there. They do drag it back a little bit. Food on cards as well. But then obviously plenty of tuck cards for me, going to get me over the line, and it is a nice round, 100 points in the end. So yeah, I felt pretty happy with how the game ended. Obviously some tricky decisions at the start. Still not convinced I made the right plays there. But obviously, as I said, when you've got Killdeer, I think you can afford to make a few mistakes. As bad as it is to say that, you can still kind of get away with it a little bit. And obviously some real nice pulls in the Imperial Eagle, and yeah, some of those big point birds at the end as well. But I have to say, I think my opponent played this really well. As I said, the whitethroat play, that really impressed me. I think that was really timely, and obviously helped them out with 2 end of rounds. But it got them a total of 7 eggs, and I think even just for a 0-point bird like that, that is still worth playing and getting points from that. So yeah, I think they had a real tricky game to try and manage with the card draw maybe not being great and not so many high point birds. But Wingspan is all about managing what you can with the birds you're given, and yeah, it definitely feels like they did that here. But there we go, we got the win. We continue the strong start, which is exactly what we want to do in this World Cup qualifying campaign. So thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this gameplay video. And so, yeah, if you want to keep up to date with future World Cup and other gameplay and strategy videos, then please do consider subscribing to this channel.